All right, Patriots. Well, Bernie Sanders and AOC decided that they were going to have a Socialist Town Hall on CNN. And in this video, I'm going to show you just how deranged these people are and exactly why. With the right persistence, and if we keep pushing the movement and keep spreading the message, the whole Democrat charade will crumble, is crumbling, and they're helping us out when they go out onto platforms like CNN. A lot of the younger people, they love hearing free this, free that. Why? Because they're young. They're just getting out. You know, their careers aren't established. And right now it is different than when I was in my 20s starting my family. And why is it different? Because of Democrat rule. It's not Republicans. Out of the last 16 years, the Democrats have been in control for 12 of those years. President Trump has only been in leadership for 4 years and 9 months. So all of this blame on Republicans is insane. And two of the biggest people that go out and push this crap is Bernie and AOC. Now, as you see right here in the title of this article, former illegal immigrant aide to AOC self-deports to Colombia amid questions about employment. And you heard and read that right. AOC, the reason why she's fighting so hard for illegal immigrant health care and all of this crap is because she herself has staffers in her administration that were illegal immigrants. Now, you got to ask yourself, how did they pay this illegal immigrant that didn't have a social security number, didn't have papers? How did they go about doing that? The rabbit hole gets real deep when you hear about how they went about doing that. Could there be some fake information, fake identification? Allegedly, there is. And Tom Homan has already got an investigation going into that. So I wanted to start with that. So you fully understand. I know you know who AOC is. I know you know that she's a left-wing radical former bartender who grew up in the suburbs that tries to pull off this shtick like she's this Bronx tough girl. She didn't even grow up in the Bronx. She didn't even move to the Bronx, but she was an adult woman. She grew up in a very nice home, went to a very nice high school where her nickname was Sandy. It wasn't AOC. It was Sandy. She flipped to this Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez to play on her ethnic background because the Bronx is loaded with Hispanic people and black people. So she acts like she this sister from the Bronx, that's Boricua from the Bronx, that just be popping it and locking it, and it's failing. People see through it. But let's get off into this. So this article, I'm going to get back to that later. Because if at all, because the footage I got is going to blow your mind. So again, I want to start with this because you may or may not remember, but this clip here is from 2020. This is the 2020 presidential debate. And there's somebody on this stage I want you to pay attention to. I also want you to pay attention to the question and what the response is. Check this out.
Tonight about these government health care plans that you've proposed in one form or another. This is a show of hands question, and hold them up for a moment so people can see. Raise your hand if your government plan would provide coverage for undocumented immigrants.
Okay, now I'm going to run it back a little bit. You know who this is right here? This is Bernie Sanders. Let's let it crop on out again. That's Bernie Sanders right there with his hand up in 2020 saying that his plan does include free health care for illegals. Okay, I just wanted to make that known. Now, before we get off into the rest of the video clips, this is the last, well, one of the two texts that I want to show you. Now, Bernie Sanders used to say millionaires and billionaires should pay their fair share. If you remember, he doesn't say that anymore. Now it's all about the billionaires. You know why? Because Bernie Sanders is a millionaire, even though he's had a $224,000 a year salary, and that's now at its peak. It was lower than that in years past, but yet he's making millions of dollars now. From his books, his book tours, his royalties and whatnot. Bernie Sanders is in the top 1%, but likes to preach this game like he's just this lowly, deranged Doc Brown from Back to the Future type character. That's just there, he just wants to help the people. It's everything with the oligarchs. Nobody even knows what an oligarch means on the Democrat side. But I just wanted to point out who Bernie Sanders is. Now, what I want to do is we're going to set this thing off from the town hall, okay? Bernie Sanders gets shook by this young man's question. And I want you to look at how he retracts from going ahead and trying to defend it when he sees the facial expressions of the young man as he starts his answer. So he flips it back. But check this out.
How do you think this shutdown reflects on Chuck Schumer's leadership?
Well, I think it reflects more on Mike Johnson's leadership and President Trump's leadership. This is a leadership which said, it's okay to give well, how do you feel? You tell me. Think it's a good idea to give $1 trillion in tax breaks to the richest people in the country and then make massive cuts to healthcare for working class people?
I think Chuck Schumer has voted for continuing resolutions 13 times in the last 4 years, and he has the opportunity to vote for one again, but he's refusing to come to the table.
Well, I think, look,
See, Democrats never expect the people that show up to these. They think everybody that shows up to these town halls or to these rallies are all just Democrat loyalists that are at this CNN debate. No, town hall, Socialist Town Hall. It's not. There are people there who just want to hear the bull crap that you're going to try to push and to be a voice of reason when y'all start trying to spin the story and trying to spread that propaganda. I'm not shocked that when Bernie Sanders saw this young man, head shaking and looking, his face looking like, you full of crap. He flipped it and said, well, do you think, and you saw he went to extreme, do you think it's okay to give tax break $1.1 trillion and tax breaks to the wealthiest and blah, blah, blah? Bro, we know that that's not happening. But this is Bernie's shtick. Now, let's look at this next clip where, again, they were called out. And I want you to listen to AOC's response as Caitlin is going to ask her this question as far as about ending the shutdown.
Well, and to Bobby's question, Representative, earlier you said that House Speaker Mike Johnson said he wants this shutdown to be one of the longest in history. I believe he said it could be one of the longest in history. He was saying that more of a warning about how long it could go on. I don't think it was a threat. But I do think people want to know how long they should brace for this to potentially go on for. Do you think by Thanksgiving the government could still be shut down?
If you enjoyed this video, do me a solid, hit that thumbs up, because I'll never ask you for a cash app or a super chat, but you hitting that like button, it helps get the video out there. And if you aren't subscribed to the channel, subscribe. And whether you're already subscribed or subscribing now, make sure that you hit the notification bell and you select all. YouTube has issues getting the notifications out, but when you select all, YouTube will make sure you get notified when I upload new videos.
I mean, I would certainly hope not. I would certainly hope not. My hope is that we're able to resolve this as quickly as possible. I'm ready to negotiate. Bernie's ready to negotiate. I mean, we are all open and ready to.
Is anyone actually negotiating right now?
no, but
Because we hear from
let me
Republicans and
reiterate
Democrats.
one point. Republicans aren't in town. How do you
House
negotiate with people who refuse even to show up to do their job? They're on.
Now, Bernie is throwing a spin. You heard what he said. House Republicans. He was specific. House Republicans are not in town. That's another spin tactic where he's spreading BS. Now, you know, one thing I'm happy for is Caitlin Collins does bring some clarity back to what he said. To her credit, she usually doesn't do this with Democrats, but the tide is turning even at CNN. And you could tell by some of the pushback she even gave during this Socialist Town Hall. As you saw, she told AOC, because AOC had made a statement that Mike Johnson wants this to be the longest shutdown, and he's doing this on purpose. And Caitlin said, no, he didn't say that. He said this could be because of what the Democrats want and their unwillingness to negotiate. So I'll let it finish.
Vacation for what, a month ago?
Yes. House Republicans have been on vacation for over.
But the Republican senators are here, and House Speaker Mike Johnson, we've had him on. He said, we've done our job. We passed the clean CR in the House. It's now up to the Senate to make these negotiations.
They need to pick up a phone, Caitlin. They need to pick up a phone. They're saying that they're doing all this work. They are twiddling their thumbs and talking to each other. It is actually an unconscionable abdication and refusal to work. They refuse. I've never seen people who hate working so much in my life. I mean, genuinely, they won't even pick up the phone. They won't. If I were Mike Johnson, you should be in that office negotiating with Hakeem Jeffries every damn day until we reopen this government. And any day that you don't do that is a failure. It is a failure. And until there is accountability for people who refuse to work, then we're going to continue to be in this cycle. So, you know, in the Senate, the Senate Majority Leader is John Thune. He should be negotiating with Chuck Schumer. President Trump should be having congressional leaders in the White House. Do you see that every day? No, you don't, because they're playing golf and they're going to Mar-a-Lago, and the House and Republicans in the House have been on vacation for weeks now. We are here in Washington, D.C. We are ready to work. We are ready to strike a deal. We're not here to just be my way and the highway about everything. But what we're also not going to accept is the complete collapse of the American healthcare system, so that just because the Republican Party has decided to take 1 million federal workers hostage.
Can I ask you on that? Because you before have said a government shutdown is like hostage taking when it comes to paychecks, because you came into office actually during a government shutdown, the longest in U.S. history. So what would you say to Republicans who say you're doing the hostage taking this time?
Once again, pick up the phone. They need to pick up the phone. And it's not hostage taking if they refuse to clock in, right? We're all clocked in. We're all clocked in to do the job. They're not even here. They're not even here. And
so as you heard that BS, they keep saying House Republicans because they know the senators are there. the Republican senators keep taking votes on the shutdown, but they don't want that to be known. That's the last thing they want people to be aware of. So she tries to do this spinning thing. And as you just saw Caitlin Collins say, again, to her credit, where she said, you know what? Well, you said it was a hostage takeover when you came in and there was a shutdown going. And that shutdown at that time was when President Trump was willing to shut the government down because he wanted the border wall. And the Democrats were refusing to allow him to protect America. But that's a whole nother conversation. But she called it out. Hostage taking. You saw when they flipped it back on her, she froze. She said, she didn't have a response. But what do you say when people say you're doing the hostage taking? Her response was, pick up the phone and come and negotiate, bend the knee, and do what we want you to do. Preferably not even we, her. AOC is the unequivocal leader of the Democrat Party now. Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries are just the faces. The far left have taken it over, period. And then she uses these words, abdicating, and I forget the other words she used. Their audience have no idea what that means. So she double talks, and when asked real questions, as you can saw, she had no answer. Well, what do they say when you're doing it? Or when they say, how's this, how's that? And she said, well, Speaker Mike Johnson said, we passed it in the House. There's nothing for the House to do. The government is shut down. But the senators are still there. The Republican senators, they won't even acknowledge that because they play on American public's ignorance. They think the American people are stupid. They think that people don't read, don't share things. And a lot of their Democratic base does it. But then you got those that are intelligent and are waking up to the Democrat crap and are spreading it. Then you got us doing things like we're doing. We're sharing, you and I are sharing information with each other right now that'll make this country better. I want to give a big shout out to the sponsor of this video, Chapter. And here's why. When my mom hit 65 years old, I watched her get bombarded with mailers, cold calls, and all these confusing ads about Medicare. And every single company pretended like they wanted to help her, but really they were just trying to sell her stuff. It seemed like the game was rigged and she was not supposed to win at all. And that's why I'm so excited to share information about Chapter with all of you. Now, who Chapter is? Chapter is a free Medicare advisory service that compares Medicare plans available, and they give you real, unbiased guidance. Chapter is completely independent and always puts customers first. Their whole focus is all about making sure that their customers, the seniors, get the right Medicare plan. And it's clear that they're making a real difference in the lives of seniors. So if you want real, unbiased help with Medicare, give Chapter a call at 402-527-1253. You'll talk to a real person who will help you figure out exactly which plan is right for you and has saved the average senior $1,000 a year. So I'm going to put the number here on the screen for you to be able to contact, or if you visit the website, go to askchapter.org/realpolitics. And they can't stand it because they can't beat the internet. Speaking of not being able to beat the internet, check out this clip where AOC is asked directly if she feels as if Americans should pay for people's illegal immigrants' health care.
I want to bring in Jill Ireland, who is a Democrat who works in insurance. She's from Santa Barbara, California, and her question is appearing via video tonight.
Hello. My question is, do you think that taxpayers should be paying for the medical care of immigrants that are in the country illegally? Thank you.
Well, we already know, and this is a common lie that Republicans have been repeating, that this shutdown is about Democrats trying to provide health care to the undocumented. And
she won't even call them illegals. You notice how they say undocumented?
And we already know that it is federal law and federal statute that undocumented people cannot be covered by the ACA. They cannot be covered by Medicaid. They cannot be covered by Medicare, period. That is the law of the land. There are plenty of federal laws on the books. Now, the vice president has been trafficking this other misconception, saying that the emergency Medicaid program is providing health care to undocumented people. That too is a complete, just, I don't even know, whole cloth storytelling, we should say.
You notice that she didn't call it a lie. She said whole cloth storytelling. These people are smart because she knows she's bold-faced lying. Now, right here, what I have for you from Newsweek are the states that provide medical health coverage to illegal immigrants. There's 14 of them, and I'll give them to you. The 14 states are California, New York, Illinois, Washington, New Jersey, Oregon, Massachusetts, Minnesota, Colorado, Connecticut, Utah, Rhode Island, Maine, Vermont, and DC. And the emergency Medicaid fund that she said is that VP Vance is storytelling about is a fact. It has overwhelmed California's budget by billions of dollars because they've been using their emergency Medicaid fund for illegal immigrants. And so you see how these people are willing to lie straight face. And she did that without batting an eye. And that's scary. Now, here's another deflection because Maxine Waters was confronted about this exact thing. Now, I want you to look at how she loses her mind. Check this out.
But are Democrats demanding health care for illegal aliens?
Democrats are demanding health care for everybody. We want to save lives. We want to make sure that health care is available to those who would die, but having the help of their government.
So you're good with the government shutdown, even if it means giving health care to people who aren't American citizens?
Well, that's what you're pushing on. What you're trying to do is you're standing here and you're trying to make me say that somehow we're going to put non-citizens over Americans. Quit it. Stop it. This is the kind of journalism we don't need. You're divisive. No, you're not. You're being divisive. No, please. You don't need to ask that question.
So as you saw, she lost her mind, okay? I'm going to spare you the full clip of that. But as you see, whenever somebody points out the obvious, she clears, they say, no, we want health care for everybody. Well, who's everybody, Maxine? That lady needs to retire. Just like AOC just said, there's nobody getting free healthcare. We've got all of these federal laws that stop that. So it's silly to think somebody is getting, free Medicaid when we've got these laws. They don't care about laws. This is the lawless party. Now, here's her real response on CNN when she was asked again, because they didn't let her get away with that sidestep of, we've already got it. We've already got laws that protect that. So, and VP Vance, he's just storytelling, never said he was lying. But check this out as she answers. And it's not what we say that gives us our answer. Sometimes it's what we don't say. Check this out.
Can I ask you on this to follow up? Because you said that it is federal law that people, undocumented immigrants, can't get Medicare, Medicaid, the Obamacare subsidies. Do you believe that should be the law, though? Or do you think undocumented immigrants should have access to federally funded health care?
I believe personally that health care is a human right. I believe that every person should be able to go to the doctor. But I believe that right now, federal law is the federal law. And that absolutely, that U.S. citizens and people who pay into our programs deserve to be covered by these programs. And I mean, once again, I do believe that the federal laws that we have on the books are appropriate.
But if
the
you
right
could
ones
choose,
to
do you believe that should be changed?
Pardon?
If you could choose, do you believe that the federal law should be changed?
I don't. I believe in a single-payer healthcare system where if you go in and you need a doctor, you can get the medical attention that you need.
Okay, let me just...
Can I ask you on this?
So in other words, yes, she believes that free healthcare should be for illegals. And one thing these Democrats do, they use they do things to evoke emotions out of people. It's like black people, they say, oh, they're trying to steal your right to vote. When in reality, they're actually making it easier for you to have other options to vote for rather than these scumbag Democrats that's been sticking it to you. But the way the mainstream media and the Democrats spin it, oh, the Supreme Court, they're trying to steal black people's right to vote. When you got the governor of New York, who said she didn't think black children in New York, in the Bronx, even knew what a computer was. That's how these people think. Or you got Supreme Court justices comparing poor people and brown people and black people to disabled people who, if given the choice of who to vote for, they're like disabled people. That's disabling them, giving them more than just one person in their area to vote for. But that's how Democrats think. They think they're racist against white men. They're racist against black and brown people. They hate anybody that's not a criminal, that's not a trans, that's not an LGBTQ, or that's not a leftist socialist. Just because a person's skin is white, black, or brown, they don't care. You don't agree with their ideology, they hate you. And they show this time and time again. And they use the extremisms of people would die, like Maxine Waters said. Well, guess what, Maxine? Even if everybody has health care, guess what's going to happen? People are still going to die. So they take something that's a fact. People die. Tens of thousands of people die every day around the country. Every year we have people that die. But what are they dying from? Old age? You know what I mean? Uncurable things that was caused by the poor decisions that Democrats have made by letting all the junk in our food. Or the liberal FDA, who's got all types of stuff being put into chemicals and chemicals being put in the thing we use in our bodies and in our homes. No, they don't want to talk about that because they know, again, it goes back to them. So they use these emotion evoking terms like, if we don't give everybody free healthcare, people will die. Well, let's look over there in Europe, in the UK, where they do have free healthcare. And guess what's happening, Maxine, the Dream Waters? People are still dying. Why? Because the wait times are 6 months, 18 months for procedures that they need that could save their life. But since everybody's got it free healthcare, the system is overwhelmed and nobody gets to benefit from it except the medical industry, who also pay a lot to these Democrat politicians. So you got to watch these folks. They're nuts. Now, on this clip, Democrat Ro Khanna is going to say the quiet part out loud. He's going to admit that illegal immigrants have been getting Medicaid money. And I think he was trying to prove a point, but instead he validated one. Check this out.
In terms of healthcare, the reality is they're just not being honest. The amount of money that actually is going towards people who are undocumented is such a small portion of the Medicaid cuts or the Affordable Care Act, if at all. And so we can argue that point, but the reality that even the vice president would acknowledge, that anyone who looks at the numbers will acknowledge, is 90 to 95% of the funding we're talking about is talking about funding for American citizens.
Now, he just said that, yeah, the amount of the budget that's going to take care of illegal immigrants is small. You know, I mean, at the end of the day, we're only talking about 95, then you saw he dropped, or 90% that's focused on Americans, but that's 10% of our money, our taxpayer money, that is going to illegal immigrants. So he was trying to prove a point, but he validated one. It's already going to illegal immigrants, even though AOC lied on that at that Socialist Town Hall meeting, saying, oh, this is just a big myth. It's not. And the Democrats know it. Now, to prove that their socialism is extreme, I want you to listen as they talk about Zoran Mamdani during the debate. Check this out.
So it sounds like you're calling on Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer to endorse Zoran Mamdani.
I believe that I do believe in endorsing the nominee, and I think it's the right thing to do.
Well,
Senator Sanders, you
let
agree?
me just add to that. She's much nicer than nicer to people. Look, take a look. You got a Democratic Party. There's no great secret. That's kind of in the doldrums right now. Everybody acknowledges that. You got a candidate in New York City, Zoran Mamdani. Guy's running an extraordinary campaign. He has something like 80,000 volunteers knocking on doors. He is bringing people out who never voted.
Now, I want to say something real quick. I apologize for stopping it, but Zoran Mamdani got the nomination, okay, with thousands of votes, tens of thousands of votes, but it still was only like close to 500,000 in a city that has 12 to 13 million. And you just heard Bernie Sanders say he has 80,000 volunteers. So a big chunk of those that even voted for him, that's another almost 100,000 people that were volunteers. How much support does Zoran Mamdani really have? Just think about that.
He's bringing blacks and whites and Latinos and Asians, everybody together around a really strong agenda talking about affordability in New York. What is not to like? This should be the kind of candidate that Democrats want in every state in the country. Strong grassroots campaigns, a willingness to take on the oligarchs and the big money interests, stand up for working class people. So really, that's a great question, but it's very deep because it talks about the future of the Democratic Party.
But are you?
Now, you just heard him say, Mamdani talks about the future of the Democratic Party. And he's right about that. But what he's not right about is the fact that Mamdani has any support from the black community at all. But these folks will step up there and will flat out lie to your face for no reason. Now, there was an article that was even put out that says that, I can't stand it, black leaders, oh, let me get it right for you. They do this on this site, and I don't know why, but it's very, very annoying that they make you flip it up and down several times before they just get the stuff out of your way and let you just do your thing. So as you see right here, black leaders say Zoran Mamdani still not impressing voters. Blast use of African American as a cover. He owes an apology. That's because Zoran was trying to say that he was a black person persecuted. He literally said, as a black man in America. Now, you just heard, though, Bernie Sanders bold-faced lie and say, oh, he's got the blacks. No, he doesn't. He doesn't have the Latinos. He doesn't have the majority of the Jewish. He's got the Democrat far leftists who flood New York. That's what he's got. Now, the purpose of this clip is, again, to show you the propaganda. Listen to what she's about to say, and I'm going to disprove this real quick. She's going to make an accusation to a company. I want you to hear it, then I'm going to show you the lie. Check this out.
Rivers in rural areas were on fire because of corporations poisoning the people who lived in those areas. Poor middle-class communities getting poisoned and dumped on by corporations like Deloitte.
Now, she just said corporations like Deloitte.
3M pouring chemicals into these places, and they want to call it a Democratic priority. Rivers in rural areas.
Now, you just heard her say companies like Deloitte are dumping chemicals into the rivers that are causing fires, she better get ready for a lawsuit coming her way, a defamation suit against that company. You want to know why? This is Deloitte. You know what Deloitte is? A consulting firm. Deloitte handles assurance. They do auditing, business process solutions, enterprise performance, finance transportation, human capital. They don't have anything to do with chemicals, but they get on television and they lie and they propagandize to the American people to their own detriment. Now, this clip right here is just to validate one thing. Matter of fact, I'm not even going to go to that. Let me show you how never Trumper, far lefter, Chris Cuomo, how his eyes have been open. And what he says, I got to agree with him. Listen to Cuomo, who I dislike, but right is right. And when the left starts eating themselves, I get a kick out of it. Check this out.
AOC has done nothing meaningful in Congress. She's done it all on social media. And she's one of your leading names in who's going to be president. Do you not get this concept of 80-20? She's an 80-20 loser all day long. Why? She is clearly catering to a minority. She's her own version of MAGA. She's looking for an outraged enclave. She's not about the majority. She's not about consensus. She's not about solutions. She wants government to give you everything. She's a socialist in a capitalist society. What are you thinking?
Now, as you heard, he had to throw it in there. She's creating her own version of MAGA. He is not a MAGA supporter. He's not a Trump supporter. He don't even like conservatives. But what he really likes is his brother. And he knows that AOC is supporting his brother's opponent. And they're throwing gasoline all over Andrew Cuomo's reputation. And rightfully so. You know, watching those two battle it out, it's a New York problem. If they elect Mamdani just like Chicago elected Mayor Brandon Johnson, they deserve what they got. Because after Lori Lightfoot in Chicago, I never thought that they were going to vote for another Democrat that soon. But they did. And it looks like already in Chicago, there's another Democrat running the show. Just like out there in New York, you know, you had de Blasio, who didn't do a good job. You had Cuomo, who didn't do a good job as governor. And now, you know, it's going to get an opportunity to destroy the city specifically rather than the state. And Zoran Mamdani went on Fox News recently and was obliterated because all that talk about, we want people to have affordable this and we want mothers to be able to get, how you going to pay for it? Well, we're going to raise tax on the rich. You're a mayor. You don't even have the power to raise taxes. So how you going to pay for it? What city ordinance are you going, what city service are you going to cut to be able to allow free buses where more criminals and homeless people will sleep and camp out on it, and the actual public won't use it out of the fear that they have on the subway? These people are deranged, but when you ask them to prove it, they can't. Now, here's Speaker Mike Johnson bringing this all home and showing the hypocrisy of the Democrats and their supposed hardline stance on the shutdown. Check out what Speaker of the House had to say.
I didn't see it. Many of you saw it. CNN hosts the first Socialist Town Hall, where Bernie Sanders and AOC said the quiet parts out loud. They don't know what they want to end the shutdown. They couldn't provide a single viable solution for the mess that they themselves have gleefully created. And by the way, those are the real leaders of the Democrat Party. We all know it. AOC and Bernie. Good luck with that. And amid all that, Chuck Schumer is actually bragging that every day gets better for his party. As you know, that is his words, not ours. All this would be laughable if it didn't come at the cost of American families. I didn't see it. Many of you saw it.
So as you heard, and that's a true statement, Chuck Schumer said that every day that the government stays shut down is better for Democrats. But see, here's where the Democrats are wrong again. There have been poll after poll after poll. Initially, when the government shutdown happened, it was like 11 points where they thought that it was Republicans' fault over Democrats. Why? Because the Democrats run around saying, well, Republicans control the White House, the House, and the Senate. And ignorant people say, yep, so the Republicans are doing it without knowing, no fool, there's not enough Republican senators that are in office to pass it, which is why we've got to do our job to help more Republican senators get elected to the Senate, to more congressmen, Republican congressmen and women get elected to the House to avoid crap like this. Because when the Democrats had power under Trump's second term, man, they were passing things left and right. And the things that the president could veto, he did. Under Biden, they had control, and we see what happened. We saw how quickly, within a 4-year span, under Democrat rule in the White House, the Senate, and the House, they can work to push this country over the cliff. And if Kamala Harris and Tampon Tim would have got in, it would be over. It would be over. So this game that they're playing is for nothing more than to prove to the radical left-wing base, which isn't even that big. They don't realize they're turning off people that were Democrat supporters, that are normal people. They just have an ideology that aligns with them, but they're not violent. They don't want to see men in the bathrooms with their daughters either. But there are certain social things. They do believe in equal rights, and they have a pure heart where they're coming from. But what they don't realize is Republicans want the same thing. Stop listening to the lamestream media. We want the same thing, but we don't want violence in the streets. We don't want men and women's sports. We do believe in God. We do believe in people's right to be able to go to church and not fear somebody trying to light it on fire because they're an atheist or a Satanist that disagrees. As a matter of fact, did you know that in state capitals around the country, that the Satanists and Democrat liberal states, Satanists have been putting up temples and statues in their state capitals? It's nuts. It's insane, but it's happening. But we got to continue to beat them back so stuff like that doesn't happen. So I just wanted to bring you this update on the first Socialist Town Hall in America on national TV, hosted by Caitlin Collins, and had Bernie and AOC, two of the most popular socialists in the country, and it completely bombed. I don't believe it hit home like they thought it would. It made Bernie look like a grumpy dude just sitting back there. And when he did speak, he did all of this craziness talking like this. That's how Bernie does. He's that kooky Doc Brown character. And AOC, she sat there, and at times when she needed to, wanted to act like they need to come to me, and they got to that. Who are you? You're a congresswoman in a district in the Bronx. You're a social media star, so you feel like you're more popular and powerful than you are. She don't even realize most people think she's nuts. Cute, but nuts. So at the end of the day, if you stayed and you watch this, I'd like to know, how do you feel about the clips you saw? Do you believe that they're making a dent in helping people believe that they don't want free healthcare for illegals, and this is bigger than that? Or do you see right through it? Put it in the comments. And if you haven't already, hit that like button. If you aren't subscribed, subscribe. I want to thank you from the top and bottom of my heart. If you stuck in and you watched this video to this point, I really do appreciate it. And I want you to make sure that you stay safe and that you be great. I'm Brian Maxwell saying I look forward to seeing you at the top. Over and out, y'all.